All right, guys. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. We are live now, and a couple things are not going right for me today. So, Yahoo Finance News, for whatever reason, is not working, along with TradingView is not working really as well today. So, I'm trying to deal with that. On the other hand, we'll take a look at some things here. So, some things I want to take a look at, obviously, was you guys had a great question as far as when would I look to sell, possibly, in this next coming bull run. So, we'll look at some, maybe two charts that we'll look at that might give us a hint as far as when I might be selling. Then we'll take a look at CORZ Scientific as far as what's going on with them and where I think they should be possibly valued at this time, right? After the exit up from Chapter 11 bankruptcy and all those things. We'll take a look at some numbers here and we'll dive into all that stuff. But as always, you guys know the drill here, not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research and invest in following cleansing companies for full disclosure, as always. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. So we're going to try and take a look at here the screen that we have on the chart. Hopefully this works. We'll kind of leave it as it is right now. We won't mess around with it too much, but I've been having issues with TradingView and Yahoo Finance. So I don't know if there's a data center down someplace or something, but something's going on. But nonetheless, here Bitcoin was actually up today. It was up quite nicely here. It was up 4.69% on the day. It closed at 41,814. Miners also had a really good day here. I'm just going to go over a couple miners here that I thought were kind of interesting. These are like the smaller micro cap miners, which I would expect to maybe fail come having an event. But they're actually pumping right now. So I don't know if people are actually looking for them to be bought out and that's why they're going up, or because they're so undervalued. Is that why people are buying them? Maybe. I don't know. But it just beats me here. So ANI, obviously 25% up. I mean, really no reason why that one's up so much. Argo, same thing, 21%. And that one, DMG, I mean, they should be able to survive, I think. Here, they have a pretty good balance sheet here. So they're up 17%. They were kind of beaten down as well. Digihost, same thing, 26%. And then you go down here, and we had also, and you can see stuff's not popping up here. We're still having issues. Mawson up 19% as well, right? Some of the ones that I think are in trouble because of their financials and everything else. So if you guys have any ideas what's going on there, other than people just buying some of the more discounted miners, I think, and maybe hoping that they get bought out by somebody else. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of because there's no really reason why I would get into those miners, personally at least. Okay, so that's it for that. Next, let's take a look at a couple charts here. So one of the charts that I've been looking at recently for quite a while now, at least in the last 2 years, is the Bitcoin stock to flow model. This is a live model here. And historically, it has pretty much signaled maybe the peaks here. The way to interpret this is you have this color gradient going from like yellow to green, then to blue to red, and then back to orange, and then back to yellow. And that signifies how many days we are out until the next halving event. Right, so blue is basically, which is where we're getting close to right now, getting close to the halving event happening. It's going to get dark blue at that point, and then we're going to start going back basically into the light blue, green, darker green, and then yellow, orange, and then red is usually where we're 140 days out until the halving event. So if we look at the previous cycles here, we see that the yellow here on the previous cycle was around 69,000. If we look at the previous one of that, we were right around, at that point, it was like 19,000, right? You get the yellow on here again, and the previous cycle of that, also the peak here at 1,000. That was also kind of like showing us a little maybe telltale sign of when the peak might happen. And if history repeats itself, we may end up getting the same kind of maybe telltale sign. So this is one of the things I'm going to be looking for here. So once we start getting more into that orange and then getting into the yellow part of things, that's kind of maybe my sign when I started looking to maybe offload the miners. And I probably won't offload Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like I've had it since 2017, 2018 when I started buying it. I may hold on to it for another 10 years. And the reason why is I'm going to show you guys another chart here. Because that one, at that point, I think will continue to do well. I mean, in the meantime, we may have obviously a pullback like we have. But to be honest, I don't need that. That's more of like a retirement account for me with Bitcoin right now. As if it gets to like 1 million or something like that down 10 years down the road or something like that, then it'll be worth something. But right now, it's not worth that much. So I'm not too worried about it. I've also tried trading it, trying to catch the peaks and things like that and the troughs. I didn't do well with it. So I actually had more Bitcoin at one point. I think I had like 4 Bitcoin. I'm down to less than 2 Bitcoin now. So I'm just like, I'm holding on to this thing. I'm not doing anything with it. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at it here. Price projection. So if we look at the long-term power law here, and this is kind of interesting here. I saw a video by It was Andre Jick, I believe his name is, a YouTuber also, and he just posted a video today. If you guys have seen it, obviously take a let me know what you guys think of it. But if you haven't seen it, search for him. You'll find him. He's got like 2.3 million subscribers. But I thought this was interesting on this. This is one that I haven't really looked into before. But if you guys recall, those of you guys that have been around with me for a while, that I had Bitcoin going to like 180,000 this cycle. And then after that cycle ends, we're going to come back down to like 63,000 or something like that. And this actually coincides with that pretty well, except the timeline here is a little bit different on. So with the 180, if we go to that, it actually is showing it right there. Right there it is. And that would be in 2026-09. So that would be definitely past, I think, what is going to be our peak in the bull run. I think the peak is going to be sometime in between, probably sometime in 2025, I'm guessing. Usually around 12 to 18 months after the halving event. So it might be pretty close to that. Well, we might be out a couple months after that. But you can see here that shows 180,000 for like the average here on the green. And then the lower part was 64,000. That's kind of what I came up with as possibly for this cycle. So I thought that was kind of interesting that also kind of, kind of reassures my my prediction a little bit here. I mean, we obviously could go up much higher, and we could also go much lower than that. But I think somewhere in between there, I think 180 to maybe 150 to like 210 is a good price target potentially on it. I wanted to show you guys this, and then obviously if you look out 10 years out, the way it looks like it's maybe in 2033, we'll get to $1 million in value for Bitcoin on the average here. You might be higher, might be at 3 million or 414,000 lower end, but somewhere around there we might be getting close to $1 million at that point. And you can see here the higher bend, the lower bend, and then kind of like the average here in the green mark. And that's kind of where it's kind of been trading more or less. If you take out the peaks and the troughs, you're looking more like on the green side of things as far as how it goes up. So I just thought that was kind of interesting and wanted to point this out to you guys as well. You obviously can see where the website is for this. You guys can definitely take a look at it. If you haven't already, definitely do so. Bookmark it and keep track of this, especially the stock to flow. I think that might be one of the ones that's going to really help us out determine when are we getting close to a peak, maybe in the bull. But we'll have to see. Right, this is just one indicator here. We'll use other ones as well, but I'll point out later on down the road as we get possibly closer to it as well. Okay, so that is it for that one. Next, let's take a look at CORZ Scientific. So CORZ Scientific, I've been trying to figure out what is their actual shares outstanding or shares out there. And this is based on their latest S4 filing, I think it was, or whatever it was, the latest one that they provided, the 25th here, in just a day ago. And in here it says that on the effective date pursuant to the plan, the company issued or will issue 184 million shares of new common stock, and then 180 million shares of warrants as well. And then if you look at some of the financial services like Yahoo Finance or even TradingView, you'll notice that there's some discrepancies as far as what they're using for the shares out. And it's hard to figure out what is their actual market cap at this point. So I'm going to go with this number here until I hear otherwise from you guys, or you guys point me to another page with more information on it. But this is kind of what I'm going to go with. And then this way we'll run the numbers off of this number here and see where core could possibly be, right, or at least where it should be right now. Okay. So if we go back down here, we'll scroll over to the next screen. And so here's CORZ Scientific. So I put in the 184 million, sorry. It's been a long week. 184 million, so roughly 185 million roughly of shares out. Market cap at this point would be around 640 million with the stock price of $3.46. Now, being that they just went back to the NASDAQ, the stock obviously changed, and we don't have any historical data really on them for the 1 week, 4 week, 8 week, or the 12 week timeframes right now. We do still have, however, their revenue. So that hasn't really changed, but we can now run it against the 184 million shares, and where should that give them as far as the stock price should be, right? So based on that, I have them right now between, excuse me, with a P of 10 between $10.5 or 10.10. Gosh, I can't speak today. $10.55 and $15.83. They're currently at $3.46. I think they are undervalued, right? The reason that they might still be undervalued is there is a questionable concern with shareholder dilution. You don't know how much they're going to dilute more to get out of the mess that they were in, grow going into the halving event, which they stated that they want to do. So I think that's the concern there, which might be holding the stock down a little bit. Plus, they just emerged a couple of days out. So based on all that, they're at $3.46. They did peak at $6.10 when they did go on the NASDAQ. And then obviously this has fallen since then. But so at $6, they were a lot closer to being to where I think they should be valued than where they are right now. So given that, I think that they are still undervalued. Okay. Now looking at the market cap here. So this is the calculated market cap. That would be 1.9 billion here at $10.55, which I think would be fair because if we look at somebody like Cleanspark, which has about 10 exahash right now, and then Core has about 17 exahash right now. Cleanspark, if you look at them on the market cap scale here, you can see that they're valued at 1.5 billion or so, right? So going back to Core, being at 17 exahash, they're only right now at 600 some. So I do think that they're undervalued. They should be probably valued more than Cleanspark right now because of the exahash that they do have, which is generating more revenue for them. But being that they were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, they got out of it and things like that. I can kind of see why there's a discount. I don't think the discount should be this much though on it. Then if we look at $15.83, that would be around 3 billion, right? And with that being said, if we look at Cleanspark as well, I'm going to use them as an example because they're kind of the ones that are doing really well right now. They should be around $17. I don't have the market cap in here put into it, but if we take the market cap, $17.39 times the 187 million shares, or 184. Let's see, let's do the math here really quick. On this one, let's see, where's my calculator? So 184 million shares times the 1739, and we get 3 billion at that point. And Bitfarms is, or not Bitfarms, CORZ Scientific is at 3 billion at that point also, right? But we're using different P ratios. We're using a P of 10. The reason I'm using a P ratio of 10 is because they're pretty much fully installed. They do have a little bit more they're going to get from Bitmain, which is going to be for another, 3 to 4 exahash, if I remember correctly, something like that. That will help them out. So there isn't much growth there, but we get news from them that they're getting, an additional 10 exahash, getting to like 30 exahash or something like that. Then that's obviously going to drive, I think, the stock higher because we have pretty good growth there going. So if we go up to then a 20 PE for them, now we're looking at between 3.9 billion and 5.8 billion at that time. Okay. And this is just based on the values that we have currently. Now, given that, depending where Bitcoin goes, how much they dilute, that is all obviously going to change as far as the estimates or the price targets could go for this. Okay. That's kind of where we stand right now. I think who else is probably the closest to them as far as hash rate at 17? I don't think there's anybody else. I mean, Marathon, we'll take a look at also. Marathon's above them. They're at 23 right now, 25, something like that. I have them at 20, what do I have at right now? They're at 24 right now, and their market cap right now is at 4 billion, right? So that gives you kind of at least a ballpark figure of where they should be valued, right? Somewhere between, I would say, Marathon and Cleanspark, somewhere in between there if all things were equal. But we know all things aren't equal. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of that, and I think we'll call it a day. We'll go into questions now, if you guys have any. Otherwise, we'll call it a quick Friday night and maybe go watch a movie or something like that. So let me get back to the screen here. All right, so if you guys have any questions, hit me up. Obviously, put question mark or put question, all capital letters, that way I know you guys have a question. And we'll get to it. So let's see what we got here. Let's see here. You guys are talking, oh, you guys are talking about the tranches for Core on that one. Let's see if I have any questions here. Doesn't look like you guys have any questions. If you guys have any questions, call it a day. Okay, Hank is asking, will you consider CORZ? Oh, why is my text coming up white? Hold on, we may have to edit this a little bit. Text, I don't know why it's coming up white. We'll change that so you guys can actually see it. Okay, let's see it. There we go. So, will you consider CORZ? My dad's got CORZ. He's got, he had like 40,000 shares of it before the reverse split. He's got like 4,000 now. Then he's got the warrants in there as well. We'll see how it does. I'll have to see their numbers, I think, for when they are out of, the numbers. So I think from Q1 of this year, we'll get numbers from them being out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Those are the numbers I want to take a look at. The ones we're going to get for Q4 are still going to be with them being in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Don't really, those are going to be important, but I really want to see Q1 numbers for them. And then I'll decide if it's something I want to get into. Let's see here. Question, do you think we bottomed or shall we expect another pullback with the Bitcoin price? we may still get another little pullback, right? Any kind of pullbacks that we do get, I think, are healthy. I mean, we're up to, what, 40-some thousand plus right now, 41,000. We may go up a little bit more, come back down a little bit more. It's expected. You know, be prepared for those. Bitcoin's volatile, so anything is possible. Do I have any miners in the Roth? I don't. I have it in a... I don't have any miners individual. I have in my 401k, I have WGMI and was it BitQ? BITO or BITO? BITO is in there as well. That is all I have in there. I moved everything into those two for that one. Question, Bitfarms, did they pay off their debt? I hear they did, but balance sheet still shows that they didn't. Yes, I believe that they're supposed to pay the rest of it off, if not this month. I think they were supposed to pay it off this month, I think they said. So that would be obviously be a good thing, but obviously the balance sheet, that I don't know where you're looking at the balance sheet, but that's going to be showing from the Q3 numbers, which probably still has debt on it at that point. Let's see here. Cypher made a huge recovery. How about them, Sebastian? A buy on a pullback. If I had the cash to do it, maybe. But the other thing that you got to take into consideration with them is if we look at, let me see if I can pull this up for Cypher really quick. Something that kind of is out there. You guys probably should know this, but they're not supposed to get the miners, not the additional miners, until delivery of the first half of 2025. That would be an additional 7 exahash, right? They do have the option to get possibly more before then. They are supposed to get these here from January to June, the 1.2 exahash it looks like, but the rest is not going to be happening until possibly later on. So unless they can actually build out fast enough to get, they have an option to buy more in this year. But right now we don't have anything for that. So that might be a reason enough for me to kind of hold off a little bit. See, I think there might be better miners that are growing into the having right now than Cypher itself is. Okay, so let's go back to the Q&A. Let's see here. Have you done a video of price targets on miners with BTC over 100K? Yes, check out my videos in the past. I did that a couple months ago. But it does go into like Bitcoin being 100,000 and 180,000 or something like that. So check out that one. Next question, how much voting rights BlackRock has with CORZ? Nah, that I don't know. You would have to ask somebody that would, maybe one of the viewers knows that question, but I don't. Question, do you think Iris is the most undervalued company right now? I do think so, along with Bitfarms, based on the numbers that where they're growing, what they have currently, their financial statements or financial health and everything else. I do think that they are definitely one of the ones that are the most potentially undervalued, along with CORZ. Now, CORZ being out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but that's the reason why they're kind of down there. Have you been keeping an eye on short interest? Curious if HUT's jumped. I have not. I usually check that on once a month. So when we do the updates for the miners, that's when I usually check the short interest on the miners at that point, and we'll discuss it at that time. See, will you sell some shares before having, or you are not worried at all about the half BTC mine? I'm not. We saw this before in the last cycle, and usually the Bitcoin miners do the best performance is usually after the halving cycle. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. If there's any dips, I will buy more. But I don't day trade, as you guys may know. Some of you guys may not know. Some of you guys are newer here. I've been buying since 2022 and just holding and dollar cost averaging in. So I don't day trade. I don't plan to start anytime soon. Let's see here. Okay, good question here. So approximately 16 miners you have on your spreadsheet. Which ones do you think will survive the next bear market? Name at least 5. Bitfarms, Cleanspark, Marathon, Riot, Iris, Cypher. Who else is going to survive? I think Hive is going to survive. There's probably other ones in there. Wolf right now is questionable because of the debt they have. We'll see how they manage that. If they get that refinanced and extend that out another 3 years, they should be okay. But there's other ones in there as well. CORZ obviously should be fine as well. There's some of the smaller ones. I'm worried about the smaller ones. Let's see here. The consensus is unless BTC reclaims 46,000, we can still see 35K. Do you agree? I think we might maybe get down to 38. I think if it's 35K, it might be just like one of those quick wicks down, and then we're back up. But I don't see us going below 35K anytime soon. Right now, things are looking pretty good, and it looks like the Grayscale Trust is kind of slowed selling of the BTC that they have. So I think that's maybe putting a little bit more pressure to the upside here, but we'll see. Next question. What is the upside for Mara from here roughly if Bitcoin goes to 150K? Is it 5x, 10x? Yeah, I think it's somewhere around there and maybe more. It just all depends how fast they can get miners installed to get to 30 exahash, right, that they're trying to get to. And then if Bitcoin goes to 150, it also depends on where the network hash rate goes to, how much they dilute. I don't think they're going to be diluting much, but those all things play into it. And at that point, 150x, I mean, if you're looking at 10x here, that would be like almost $170 for marathon or something like that. So definitely somewhere between 5 and 10x, I think is definitely doable on that one. And let's see here. I think that is all the questions we have. So I do appreciate you guys coming on greatly, coming into chat and answer the questions, watching all that stuff, and you guys commenting as well. So thank you to everyone there for thank you. Well, I can't speak. Thank you everyone for coming in to watch this. And it's been a long week, so we will do a video tomorrow with Anthony. We're going to do a Q&A on it. That's going to be fun and interesting. I think it's the first one that I've ever done with a guest. We'll see how that goes. I think I have pretty much everything planned out, but hopefully you guys can join us at 2 o'clock tomorrow. That's Central Time, and we'll do that probably for like a half an hour to an hour, depending on how many questions we have. We'll talk about some of the latest topics that are happening right now, also in the beginning for like the first 5 minutes, and then we'll get into the Q&As to get everybody ready. So I think that might be fun. So if you want to join us for that, would greatly appreciate it. But other than that, hope you guys have a wonderful Friday. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend if I don't see you tomorrow. And we'll see what else happens over the weekend and then next week. So I think the best times are ahead of us yet. Thanks so much.